Why is there suffering? I mean, all of us have asked that question at some point. The reason why my sister was killed in a car wreck was because a man decided to drink and smoke marijuana and drive. And because he made a bad choice and crossed the center line, my sister lost her life. I remember them asking the guy afterwards, or telling the guy afterwards, the girl in the other car didn't make it. And he said, what car? He didn't even know. How can you believe in a God that would allow this kind of suffering? Is God punishing me? Is that why I'm suffering so? I remember a young couple who were expecting. They lost their baby. And they said to me, we've done all the right things, and it just doesn't make sense. It must be the will of God, or it wouldn't have happened, right? I mean, because everything happens for a reason, they said. You know, atheists use this kind of question to support their argument against God. This age-old question of why does a loving God allow suffering? It's baffled philosophers and religious leaders for ages. So here are some of the key questions. Does God cause suffering? Is it His will? Does everything happen for a reason? Because God decided it would happen that way? I can't tell you the number of people who said that to me, or I've heard it in a conversation, even after I've given one of my better sermons about why that's not the case. It's no wonder why so many people have turned away from God when they have been taught that every disappointment, every tragedy, every loss, every painful experience was the will of God. Surely a loving father would not sit back and watch his children suffer. Adam Hamilton sets up the argument like this. Here's what he says. He said, if God is loving and just, then God must not be all-powerful. If God is all-powerful, God must not be loving and just. For if God were all-powerful and loving and just, then God would not let the evil and the pain and the suffering happen. Theologians have a special name for this, a little word that they have put together. It's called theodicy, from the Greek words for God and justice. Theodicy is the attempt to reconcile this issue of a loving God with suffering present in our world. It's a hard issue. Does God cause suffering? If He doesn't cause it, then at the very least, it seems He lets it happen when He could stop it. To try to tackle this question of why suffering, we need to make some distinctions between the different types of suffering. There are a couple of categories I want us to think about. The first one is this: natural disasters. Haiti's earthquake leaving 250,000 people dead, hurricanes and tornadoes and flooding. Most of us accept the fact that God doesn't cause these things, and scientists have taught us that these things are necessary for the balance of the world, and actually we need these things to occur for us to survive. So we pretty much agree on that. It broke my heart when I stood with the residents of New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina, and one of the ladies that we were working with said that she had heard this, but God must have done this because of the sin of this city. She said, but I'm a good person. I just can't understand how God would do that. Would God intentionally cause the rain in Africa to stop and sit by and watch His children die? I don't think so. Instead, God sends people there to help His people, His children. That's one type. The second is suffering at the hands of human beings. And we sort of tackled this issue with the evil and terrorism. Because God gave us, all people, free choice, then evil happens. God said, God does not take away our freedom. He gives us the opportunity to choose. And He doesn't deliver us from the consequences of those actions. It's a result of free choice, something none of us really want to give up. That free choice also gives us the opportunity to do incredible good in the world in the name of Jesus Christ. God's heart aches when His children suffer. They can claim, like the writer of Psalm 73, my flesh and my heart may fail, but God is my strength, my portion forever. I have made the Lord my refuge. Listen, if you're suffering, if you know someone who is, God is your refuge. He is your strength. He is your portion. And so he doesn't cause it. Instead, he loves you through it and gives you the grace to make it. That's good news, and I'm grateful for God's love of us.